Hello, friends. Welcome to my channel, Learn with Rushan. So, today we are going to discuss another interesting topic, which is related to client side scripting in web development. That is the difference between var and let keywords, right? So, let's get started. Now, I'm sure you are familiar with JavaScript as well as TypeScript, right? So TypeScript is nothing but a superset of JavaScript. Okay. So both of these languages use var and let keywords. So var and let keywords are actually used for declaring variables. Okay. But there are differences between the two keywords. Okay. So we can elaborate the differences of these two keywords based on the following factors, which are variable redeclaration and reassignment. Okay, and the other one is the scope of variables. Okay, if you look at this chart, right, var keyword, var keyword allows us to redeclare a variable. We'll see practically what we mean by variable redeclaration. Then obviously var keyword, or rather variables defined or declared using the var keyword, right, are allowed to reassign a value to it, right? We'll see that practically. Then var keyword operates at two scopes, global and local. Local scope is also known as function scope. Then when it comes to let keyword, right? Let keyword uh, does not allow redeclaration. Let keyword does not allow redeclaration. Uh, but again, we are allowed to reassign a value to an already declared variable using the let keyword. And again, let keyword allows three scopes or operates at three scopes: global, local, and block level scope. Okay, so we'll get into a demo, right? For this demo, I'm going to use Visual Studio. Let me close these applications and show you how I approached doing this, right? Let me delete this first. Okay, now this is a empty uh, ASP.NET web application which has been created in Visual Studio 2019 in .NET Framework 4.8, right? Now let me add a TypeScript file. So right click, add new item, and I'm going to add a TypeScript file. There you go. My script. Okay, so I have given the name my script for it. Then let me add a HTML file. Okay, so I'm going to add a HTML file. I'm going to name it demo.html. Okay, now let me go to the my script file, which is an empty file. But before writing any client side script, right, Let me reference this my script file in the demo.html like this. You have to drag the myscript.ts file here, right? Myscript.ts file here. So you may wonder, now I have added TypeScript file here, but when I dragged and dropped the reference to the demo.html, it is shown as myscript.js. That is because TypeScript is nothing but a superset of JavaScript, right? So TypeScript will compile itself in the browser to JavaScript ultimately. So therefore, uh, it is showing as JavaScript. That is totally fine, right? Okay. Then we move on to myscript.ts. Let me show you the slide. Now what we are going to do, we are going to discuss the differences between var and let keywords. Okay. Now, as I said you earlier, we are going to discuss the differences based on these factors, right? So let me take the redeclaration and reassignment factor and discuss it between var and let keywords. Okay. Now let's say var keyword redeclaration and reassignment. Okay. So I am going to type my script, right, in JavaScript, right, at a global level. I'm not going to add any functions. Okay. So let's just declare a variable var num. Okay. Var num equals to 1, right? Now variable is declared as num and initialize the value of 1, right? Okay. Then JavaScript allows us to do something like this. We can redeclare this variable var num equals to 3. Okay. And then console.log. I'm going to print the value. Okay. Now let me first make this demo.html as the start page and then run the page. Okay. Then let me go to the developer tools of Chrome browser and it shows the result as 3. Okay, shows the result as 3. So JavaScript allows us in JavaScript and TypeScript, var keyword allows us to, right, uh, redeclare a variable. Okay, redeclare a variable. Okay, in the same name. Then let's take another example. Reassignment. What do you mean by reassignment? Now I will take the same example. Okay. Var num equals 1. Instead of redeclaring this variable, I'm going to just reassign. I'm not going to redeclare it. I'm going to reassign the value of 3. I already initialized the value of 1. I'm going to reassign the value of 3. Then what happens? Let's run and see. It is 3. Okay. When it comes to let keyword, let's see what happens when it comes to let keyword. Let me change the keyword as let, and here let me declare this again as let. Now see, Are we allowed to redeclare the variable which is already declared before? We have declared the num variable using let keyword at line 3, as well as we have redeclared the same in line 5. But are we allowed to proceed? No, there's a red squiggly. What does it say? It says cannot redeclare block scope variable num. Cannot redeclare block scope variable num. So in let keyword you cannot redeclare a variable. Okay, but let keyword also allows reassigning a value. Reassigning a value. Let me run and see. The value is 3. Okay, so if you go to the slide again, var keyword allows redeclaration, reassignment. Let keyword does not allow redeclaration but allows reassignment. Okay, then we'll talk about this scope concept, right? Let me clear this. Okay, now you all know that in a JavaScript or a TypeScript file, this is the global scope. Okay, now I'm going to discuss about the scope concept. Now let me define a JavaScript function. So function, I will give the name as test, right? Okay, right. Now let me define a variable like this: var result. Okay, global scope, global scope, and I'm going to add a console.write line here. Console.log print at global scope result. Okay, print at global scope, right? Then in the test function, right? Let me define a variable like this: var marks equals to 33. Var, okay, result equals to pass, right? So as you can see, I'm using the var keyword everywhere. Var keyword everywhere, right? var result pass, right? Now this is known as the local scope, function scope. Okay, then I'm going to add a if condition. If marks is less than 35, right? This is called block scope. Block scope, right? What are the block scopes? If conditions, while loops, then what else? For loops, those are called block scope, right? So I am considering a if block here. Okay, and then if marks equals less than 35, right? var result equals to fail. Var result equal to fail, right? Actually, I want to show you a certain behavior of this var keyword, right? And then I'm going to write console.log result, okay, within the if block. And also I'm going to write console.log within the local scope or the function scope result. Okay. Now I have declared this result variable in the function scope. I have declared the result variable in the block scope separately. Okay. Okay. Now what do you think? Right? Now what do you think? You may think that this console.log, right, will print fail, and this console.log, okay, this console.log will print pass. Okay, you may think as per this program, this console.log will print fail, okay, and this console.log statement, line number 16, will print pass, right? But let's see the result. Okay, I'm sorry. First, I need to access this test function within the HTML file. So how are we going to access this function? We are going to take copy of this test function like this, and we have to add a script block. Okay, so I'm going to add a script block to the body. We can even add it to the head. Okay, so I'm going to call the test function here. Okay, I'm going to call the test function here. Now let's run and see what happens. Right. Okay, I have refreshed it. Now let's observe the program with the result. Now this is the global scope. Var result global scope console.log print that global scope result. Okay, it is print here. It is printing here. Print at global scope. That is fine. But if you observe, you have two fail statements. Let me further add certain statements like this within the block. Okay, within if block, right? Within function scope, right? Now let's see what happens. Okay, still we are printing fail and fail here. Yeah, within if block, result is fail. Within function scope, result is fail. Okay, okay. Let me write it like this: within block scope, within function scope. Okay, it will be much clear for you. Within block scope, it is fail. Within function scope also, it is showing as fail. But you assume it is supposed to print pass. It is supposed to print pass. Why? The reason being we have declared this result variable and initialized the value of pass here. So it should print as pass within function scope. We have declared a result variable in the block scope and initialized the value of fail, and it is supposed to print as fail. which it did, right? It was printed as fail. But we have a problem with this statement, right? It is supposed to print as pass, but it also printed as fail. It also printed as fail. Okay, so we are fine with the global scope printing. We are fine with the block scope printing, but we are not exactly fine with the function scope printing. The reason being, let me go back to the slide and show you var keyword, right? Var keyword does not allow block scope. Var keyword does not allow block scope, which means even though we have declared result variable here within this if block, okay, we are actually making this result variable available at function scope. We are not making it available in block scope. So the result variable at line number 8 and the result variable at line number 12 both are same. Both are same. Both are same. Therefore, it was initialized at line number 8 to pass, but then it was initialized to fail. The same variable is initialized to fail. The reason being var keyword does not have block scope. It does not have a separate block scope. Even though it is declared in the if condition, var keyword does not consider a block scope, right? Therefore, in both console.log statements, the result variable will print as fail, right? Because we are pointing to the same variable, right? As var keyword has only function scope. The result variable which is declared in line 8 is the same variable that is being reinitialized with the value of fail, right? These two are same actually. These two are same. That is why we are printing the same value. So we have finally initialized the value of fail. Therefore, the result variable will print as fail in both console.log statements. Okay, so I hope it's clear for you. I tried my best to explain it for you, right? Then we'll see what happens when we do the let keyword. Now, let keyword supports global, local, as well as block scope. Block scope. Let me change this to let, right? All are let keyword, like this, right? Now we have defined the global variable as let. We have defined or declared the function level variables as let. We have declared the block level variable as left. Now let's see what happens, right? Print at global scope, yes, global scope, that is fine. Within block scope, it is fail. Within block scope, it is fail, fine, that is fine. And within function scope, it is pass. So, as you can see, right, within function scope, it is pass. Within block scope, it is fail. So, as you can see, right, the variable declared at line number 8, this result variable, and the variable declared at line number 12, this result variable, are in two different scopes. Why? We have declared it using the let keyword. Therefore, they are actually operating at two different scopes. The reason being we have used the let keyword, right? This variable operates at function scope. This variable operates at block scope. They are in two different scopes and they are operating at two different scopes, right? Therefore, the value which is assigned at line number 8 will print as pass in the function scope. The value which is assigned as fail in line number 12 will print as fail in the block scope. The block scope. Okay. So that is the difference between var and let keyword. In let key, when we use let keyword, it has clear separation of scope: global scope, function scope, block scope. Okay, block scope. And let me show you another example. Right, whatever the variables declared at block scope, it is not accessible at the function scope. Let me show you what I mean. Let num1 equal to 8. Now we cannot do something like this, right? Console.log num1. See, cannot find name num1. This num1 variable is only accessible within this block, within this if block only. It cannot be accessed even within the function scope, even within the function scope. But if I change this to var keyword, right, it is accessible at the function scope as well. It is accessible at the function scope. Why? Var keyword does not have the block level scope. Var keyword does not have block scope. It only has global scope and function scope. Whereas let keyword has, right? Let me change this to let. Let keyword has global scope, function scope, block scope. If you want your variable to be declared and accessible only within a particular block, such as an if block, while loop, or a for loop, the best practice would be to use the let keyword. It will avoid lot of errors and confusions and bugs, right? So that is the other point that I wanted to specifically make. Okay, right. So I hope overall this concept is clear for you. The usage of var and let keywords. Let us go to the next slide. Right now, in conclusion, var keyword actually can lead to errors in the program, right? Because variables defined inside a block, such as if block, loop, as I said, right, can be accessed outside of the block, can be accessed outside of the block, that is within the function, right? So it may lead into issues later on if someone accidentally redeclares it, right? Such as there can be issues, right? On the other hand, the let keyword provides very clear separation of scope when it comes to variable declaration and initialization. So my recommendation as a developer, right? My recommendation is to use the let keyword going forward.